Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting in Bright, 29th of April 2025. We will start with an announcement by Mr Jeremy, our CEO, about recording and live streaming of council meetings. Mr Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on a specific area, however audio from the entire room is captured. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. By submitting a question, you consent to your question being read aloud at the meeting. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is to hold us more accountable and to improve transparency of council's decision-making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting.
Thank you, Mr Jeremy. I invite all to stand for the acknowledgement of traditional custodians and recognition of all people. Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the Tongarong peoples as the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting today. Council also acknowledges all of the traditional owners of the wider lands of the area known as the Alpine Shire. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all. Thank you. Item 3 is confirmation of minutes from the Ordinary Council meeting of the 25th of March 2025. Circulated to all councillors, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Here we go. The memory's dropping. Any comments? Anything to comment on? No? Anything from other councillors? We'll take that one to the vote then. All those in favour? That is passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 4 is apologies, and we have an apology for Councillor Peter Smith, who is still recovering from his health matter, and he's watching us on YouTube apparently, so everyone can wave. Hi, Peter. Item 5 is obituaries and congratulations, and I will start on my left with Councillor Townsend.
Yep, so I've got a couple. So first off, I'd like to congratulate all the volunteers across the Alpine Shire for raising, I believe, around $50,000 this Good Friday for the Royal Children's Hospital. And I'd also like to send a massive congratulations to Bob Williams, who has been the president of the Mount Beauty RSL for around 21 years, who will be stepping down shortly. So well done, Bob. And for obituaries, I'd like to mention Ray Connolly, who is a highly valued member of the Mount Beauty and Toowoomba South community, with an extensive history in the ADF, who passed away late last month.
Thank you. Councillor Ronco.
Yes, so I have one obituary. A few weeks ago, I learned of the passing of Jane Foley, a well-known Bright community member who brought together our local community through the year. Today, I would like to address my sincere condolences to Jane's family. And I have one congratulation. I would like to congratulate the Alpine Cycling Club, who have successfully managed the first round of the Victoria Junior Rider Series called Alp de Buffalo, which attract 150 young riders from all around Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mrs Mayor. Just one obituary this week. Ilario Michelini, well known from the Michelini family in Myrtleford, died recently.
Thank you.
Neil from me.
Councillor Byrne. Councillor Anderson. I would like to add my condolences to Jane Foley's family and just talk a little bit about her history here. She's bubbly, lovely Jane, who has saved many American clothing, and Councillor Ronco is sporting one as well. I first met her when she was making sweatshirts for staff and visitors at Mount Hotham, and then she opened a business in Myrtleford, and then ended up supporting her son as he opened the Aspire business in Bright. She also was involved in the community and community events for making costumes for kindergarten and etc., including a dance school, and danced with that school, and was quite involved in the local school, high school as well at times. So she will be very much missed, and ballet Jane. I'd like to congratulate the people who ran the Wonderlagong Nut Festival over the weekend. That was apparently the numbers were down from last year, that's just hearsay, but it was a really good event with some really wonderful market stalls and great music and a really good feeling, and not just visitors, but a lot of community members there as well. And Paige Anders and Ayla McCallum are baseball players, 2 young female baseball players who have been selected for the Victorian state team. So very, very excited for them and their future. And they've also been invited to play in Reno, Nevada later this year in the about 16. I'm not sure if it's under 16 or what, but an absolutely terrific achievement for young women in this shire. And my final thanks is to everybody who participated in supporting our businesses as employees or whatever it might be through this incredibly busy time that we've had, that where the school holidays ran into another long weekend, and New South Wales holidays started too, and it's just been flat out across the shire. I think everybody would understand. So well done, everybody who's worked so hard over that period to make it a success. And we will move on from obituaries and congratulations to item 6, which is declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. Does anybody have any item conflict of interest tonight? Good. And if it does become apparent that you may have a conflict of interest, you can declare it at any time. Item 7 is public questions. Now, there is a part in the agenda that talks about question time and what questions are permitted and what questions are not permitted, and that is entirely up to the discretion of the chair, which is me. We have a question on notice which I'm not going to answer tonight. It's not on the agenda, not an item on the agenda, but we will be addressing it by email, and so the person who has written that question in, if they are watching, will know what it is, and there will be a response over the next week or so, I believe. Yep, thank you. So no other questions on notice, nothing else came in on time. I am now going to ask for questions from the floor and remind everybody that they may ask only 2 questions at any one meeting, that it's not about a subject matter that's already been dealt with and answered, that it's not embarrassing for a councillor or a member of council staff, and there's a whole lot of a list of other things as well, but I'll start with those ones. So questions from the floor. If you would like to ask a question, you're welcome to come up and use the microphone, and please, yes, Brian, you may ask a question at the microphone and state your name and where you're from, please, at the podium. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I put this one main question through you. It's the questions in regard to the Wandy Walk track reconstruct, or the track being reopened. The Wandy Walk is a historic track. Historic tracks are public highways according to the High Court of Appeal decision in, it was in November of 2019, if I recollect correctly. The track shows on maps provided by Oxley Planners, and I have copies of those tracks here. The 2 tracks are along the creek. There are 2 tracks, one along the creek, and there's a second track which is diagonally across one of the properties.
I'm expecting you getting to your questions.
Sorry, yeah,
Yep.
I'm getting close.
Yep.
So there's one diagonally across the private property as well. The tracks are currently blocked by electric fencing put up by the landowners. Council has been considering this matter since the February this year. I've got a document that shows that from Council. So my question is, I've written to Council on numerous occasions, and my question is, what are your findings as to the reopening of this track?
Thank you, Mr Littlechild. Could I ask Mr Rees to respond, please?
Thank you for your question, Brian. As you're aware, it's a complex matter. There are many different stakeholders that we're needing to engage with, and we are progressing a preferred option at this point in time. It is premature at this point to be able to offer any potential outcomes of that option, but once we've exhausted those discussions, we'll then come back with an update.
Just for my records, could you tell me when you might anticipate there might be a finding?
Well, at this point, I think it's premature to speculate given the complexity of the nature of the discussions that are underway, and I think we need to let that unfold. If I had to speculate, it might be 6 to 8 months away.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the floor, Ms. Keith? Thank you.
Got it. Keith Pike, Toowoomba South. I'm actually asking this question on behalf of Alpine FM, the radio station. Early this month, I emailed CEO Will Jeremy about the possibility as landlord, the Shire is our landlord, of us pursuing the possibility of putting solar panels and a battery on the roof of the radio station. Because I didn't know who else to contact on that. I didn't know who to get to. So Will did answer me fairly quickly saying that he'd put it out to find out who the appropriate people were. And my question is, any further on that?
Thank you, Keith. I'm going to hand this over to Director Rees to see whether Director Rees has an update, and if not, he can pass it back to me.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks, Will. So the prospect of putting solar on that building, it actually sits on our top 10 list of buildings that we're looking to invest in. The team are busy working through, I suppose, a suitability assessment to finalise the prioritisation based on aspect, shade, etc. So that would really inform, I guess, the prioritisation of looking for funding opportunities. In the meantime, the team will reach out to Alpine FM and let them know that we have no objection to the radio station pursuing with any opportunities that they might see. All we ask is just to work with us and keep us informed, and we'll look to see what we can do to get a successful outcome.
There are a number of technical aspects, one of which is the radio station is on three-phase power.
Yep.
So we've got a technical officer who can work with the Shire.
Great. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith and Mr Rees. Any further questions from the floor? Hey, Ray.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Ray Dyer and I reside at Nug Nug, Buffalo River. I think it was the January meeting that it was decided through the council that Gareth Graham catch up to me and have 5 questions put to it. And I said to Graham that when those 5 questions are finished, I'll give another 5 questions. But my question tonight is to the Mayor. The 5 questions I had, I've got a lot of questions I want to answer, questions on those 5 sections, which is the toilets, the electric bike that has been ongoing since 2019, the trees, and there is one there that stated that in 2017, Charlie Bird put in a letter to me saying that I was no longer welcome at the Shire office because of being violent and aggressive. Well, I put a letter into Charlie and said, how dare you attack my character and credibility? I want to talk to you about this. If you don't want to talk, pack your bags and get out. Well, he did.
Mr Dyer,
Now, yes, Mr Mayor?
I need a question.
Well, the question
I'm hearing
is,
statements.
I have questions on the paperwork I got with the 5 questions and the answers I got from the Shire, and I would like to have a meeting with the CEO about those questions.
So I'm just going to refer back to the agenda papers and our governance rules and GS7, where questions at a council meeting should be limited to items of public interest. And what we are talking about is matters that are about Mr Ray Dyer. And the other thing that is listed in this is that the questions won't be considered if they deal with subject matter already answered. And we've answered those 5 questions.
No, Mr Mayor.
That's the answer. So I thank you very much for your question.
No, I'm sorry.
And I ask you to sit down, please.
I can't have another question.
If you have a question that's public interest,
Well, I believe
you can
those...
ask another question.
All right. I asked, and I've asked a few times now to Will, that the contract for the toilets, so because I asked 12 months ago, more now, that I believe he should stand down because of the he cannot clean toilets.
Mr Dyer, that is now contravening the governance rules again. So I ask you to ask a civil question. If you
My question
if you have a question about a contract, then you can ask the question about the contract.
Well, the contract is, before I ask about the contract, I'd like to see the contract and see exactly what is going on with the toilets, because maybe the contractor is abiding to the contract. And before I go further with it, I'd like a copy of the contract. I got, earlier this year, I got paperwork on the bins where they're all located around the Shire, Mount Beauty, Bright, Myrtleford and everything else. That wasn't the contract for the toilets, that was only the bin.
So your question
my question is, when do I get a copy of what the contractors do with the toilets?
Okay, thank you, Mr Dyer. We'll address that question. Mr Rees, can you talk to that now, or shall we do it on notice?
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to provide Councillor Graham with information and allow that conversation to proceed.
Thank you.
And
That's 2 questions. Thanks.
okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Mrs Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Dyer. Any further questions from the floor? Thank you. We move on to then presentation of reports by officers, and starting with item 8.1.1, contracts approved under delegation by the CEO. Mr Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the recommendation is, as stated, that the capital project contracts approved under delegation by the CEO be noted. And there's a single contract noted there, which is has the title Alpine Shire Pools Install Dry Chlorine and Bisulfate. The tender is Rugen Engineering. We budgeted $100,000 for this, and the contract that was awarded was at $106,835. And just for clarification, the project that's being delivered here is to change from a liquid chlorine dosing system to a dry powder dosing system, and there's 2 key benefits from that change. One is a safety benefit from the people who are operating the plant in the swimming pools, and the other is a maintenance benefit. The liquid chlorine and the atmosphere that it creates in the plant room in our swimming pools is creating an environment where we're seeing quite high rates of corrosion. So this is a more modern system, and the contract's been awarded to allow us to move to that change across our 3 pools.
Thank you, Mr Jeremy. Councillors, it's for noting that the contract has been awarded. Moved by councillor Byrne, seconded by councillor Graham. Any comments?
Will, could you outline which pools will this system be installed in?
Thank you, councillor Byrne. The 3 pools within the Alpine Shower, so Mount Beauty, Myrtleford and the Bright Pool.
Any further questions or comments? Councillor Anderson.
Will there be any sort of particular change in the water quality of the pools? They're like better, worse, same?
Thank you, councillor. I'm going to defer to Director Rees on that one. That's a bit beyond my understanding of the system.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I'm not a swimming pool water chemist, but from what I understand, it creates a softer water compared to the liquid dosing. And so it just is a better experience for users going forward. Not as corrosive, and hopefully they'll get longer life out of their equipment.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Put to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimously passed. Thank you. Item 8.2.1 is the draft budget 25-26 community submissions. Director Alan Rees.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report relates to providing a response to the submissions received by council as part of the community budget submission process, which was conducted in the development of the draft budget, which is put before council for consideration later on this evening. Just by way of context, there's a long recommendations section which I'll come back to. But just for context, in November, council commenced consultation on the budget with the community budget submission process, where council officers asked the local community what they would like to have considered in the council budget for the forthcoming financial year as part of the budget preparation process. In terms of the response, this year we received 34 well-considered responses compared to last year where we received 28, so a little bit more interest this year. And just in terms of the process that has been followed, each submission has been considered by the relevant manager and I guess scored against a combination of factors including the current and projected program of work by council for the next year, the availability of resources, both staff and financial, and council's ability to undertake the requested works and how those submissions relate to the council plan. So a fairly comprehensive assessment process and a really wide level of interest. So in the interest of enabling a bit of debate, if I may summarise the recommendations following consideration of all of the submissions. 7 of the submissions have been recommended for inclusion and funding in the forthcoming budget, totalling $360,000 to be spent on community submissions. These include a number of projects in Toowoomba, totalling $260,000, a project in Dinner Plain for $60,000, and then the Bright Pioneer Park Oaks Lawn project for $30,000, and then the Wandie Preservation Society for $10,000. There are 8 submissions where the recommendation to council for consideration is to deploy existing internal resources to progress these, and there's a range of them, so 8 of those. And then, unfortunately, 19 submissions which have been considered with a recommendation not to proceed or progress in the forthcoming financial year. So I'll hand that over to councillors for discussion and debate.
A mover and a seconder, if that's the way we'd like to go. Yep. Moved David, Councillor Byrne, and seconded Councillor Ronco. Councillor Byrne.
I note that a number of the successful applications involve Toowoomba. Is there a reason for a bias or perceived bias that way?
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. So the submissions received for Toowoomba in particular mostly relate to the Alpine Better Places Toowoomba project, which was part of a broader Alpine Better Places program that rolled out over a number of years. And following significant investment and community engagement, the Alpine Better Places Toowoomba project was divided up into 3 different stages in order to make them more attractive to I suppose, obtain external funding due to the actual scale and scope of those projects. What the community submissions have enabled to be done is group a number of elements of Alpine Better Places Toowoomba to be actually delivered through council funds, which then progresses the amenity upliftment of Pioneer Park, while the remaining scope will remain on our pipeline and continue to be used to advocate for and secure funding in the future.
Anything else, no? Councillor Ronco, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment. So I would like to comment the consultation work done by everyone. So Alpine Shire, CEO, director, staff, my fellow councillor, and the community groups. This consultation has helped us to better understand the different needs in our community. And we have worked and are still working to deliver as much as possible outcome for everyone in our community within the restrained budget and financial assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Other councillors? Comments? Questions? Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. One of the unsuccessful submissions this year was the Kiwa Valley Historical Society storage upgrades. They're looking for more room and better room to store their historical artefacts. Now, part of this requires the Alpine Shire to digitise its archives, which are stored over there, that would release some more room that they can better use. Do we have a time frame on that, on the digitisation?
So the digitisation of the archives is actually a reasonably significant project. It requires us to do some further work internally on our document management system before we can even look towards the digitisation of that archive. It is not on the forward plan for 25-26 and has not been in the draft budget for next year. We can do some forward work to see when we might be working through that, but at the moment we are working on document management internally first.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Any further questions, comments from councillors? Councillor Anderson.
What will the process be now that we've done these submissions and we've worked through them? Will people be notified, and how will they be notified?
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. So all of the submitters received a letter last week advising them that council will be considering their submissions tonight, and that following council's decision this evening, the budget will be put up for public exhibition. They would have an opportunity to provide feedback on the budget through that process, and that following this evening, a letter will be sent to each of them formalising council's decision this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, again.
Thank you. This is just a simple one that we noticed earlier on today, but for anyone who may have downloaded and looked at this budget online, the Myrtleford dog leash area is incorrectly stated. It should be the Dinner Plain off-leash dog area.
Thank you. That was a gold star awarded for that one. It is. I have, well, it's actually a comment about one of the projects that is not going to be in the budget this year. It's the Kiwa Valley Shared Trail from Toowoomba South back into Mount Beauty, or to rebuild. And well, what I wanted to recognise is this community support for that redevelopment, but point out that it's a really complex process, and It's not going to happen this year, but don't give up. Keep asking. Thanks, Keith. The other project I would really like to pull out is the request from the Bradley District Chamber of Commerce for some funding to support a winter festival, and just also it's a word of encouragement around an understanding that building some more events through winter, most likely across the Shire, will support the Shire, and that there's a tourism events strategy will be developed over the next 3 or 4 years, and that I guess my question around that is that there will be some engagement. I'm not even going to ask a question because we won't know. There will be some engagement around that tourism event strategy, so keep your eyes and ears open, everybody, so you can input into that. I won't ask what it's going to be, that's what I was going to do. No one will know. So comments from me, not questions. And we will take this to the vote. Yeah, nothing else to talk about on the anything there? Okay. Councillors, all those in favour of what we've got in front of us? Super. That is passed unanimously. And we go for item 3.1. Mr Rees is now just the note taker. And Ms Cook steps in 3.1 to talk about the draft Community Vision Council Plan and Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, which is our driving force for the next 4 years. Thank you, Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report relates to the endorsement for public exhibition by Council of the draft Community Vision Council Plan and Community Public Health and Wellbeing Plan for 2025 to 2029, which has been incorporated into the Council Plan. All Victorian councils are required to develop a Community Vision Council Plan and Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan. These strategic documents are prepared in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act and the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, which require council adopt strategic framework documents by no later than October of the year following a council election. These documents, if adopted, will supersede the current 2021 to 2025 council plan, which also incorporates a municipal public health and wellbeing plan and the 2040 community vision. The recommendation is that council endorses the Community Vision Council Plan and Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan 2025 to 2029 for the purpose of seeking public submissions, and invites public submissions in accordance with the recommendation on your screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors. Councillor Ronco is moving the recommendation. Yep. Seconder? Councillor Graham. Thank you. Councillor Ronco.
I would like to commend everyone who has worked on this community vision and council plan. And also I would like to invite as many Arpentshire residents as possible to consult this draft and submit any feedback on this document before its adoption. And I have a question too. So is the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan 2025-2029 a single document, or it is incorporated into the council plan? And if it is incorporated into the council plan, have we received a government exemption from being a single document as requested? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Yes, we are proposing to incorporate the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan into the Council Plan as an incorporated document in the same way we did for the 2021 to 2024 document, and we have received indicative approval of that from the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Graham? No. Nothing? Any other councillors? Questions or comments?
How can people get involved with the next phase of this draft plan in the community?
So the draft plan will be put up on Council's Engage platform tomorrow, along with the other documents should they be approved tonight for public submissions. But there are also a number of face-to-face engagement opportunities on these documents. So keep your eye out on our social media and on our website for those details, but we'll be having pop-up sessions and engagement sessions at markets and other areas across the Shire.
Yeah, and the councillors will be involved in that as well. So if you want to come and talk to us, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Any further questions, councillors? Ms Cook, will we be using Engage Alpine as well? So
Yes.
people can put in on
Yes, Councillor Nicholas, we will.
electronically? Perfect. My question is about how many workshops with the community were held to develop this plan?
So there was a significant amount of consultation undertaken to develop the draft plan. There were surveys undertaken across a period of time. We had market pop-ups in Bright, Myrtleford, Mount Beauty and Harrietville. We also undertook youth engagement through the Lighthouse in Bright, and we had a community panel running, which was a representative group of community members and councillors that met over a series of 6 workshops to provide in-depth input to the plans as well. So there's been some significant engagement to date, but we really encourage more engagement on the draft plans. We're hoping to get a lot of engagement going forward so we can really understand the community's views on the plan before we bring it back to council in June.
Thank you very much, Ms Cook. And all those people who contributed. I know Councillor Ronco's already touched on it, but it's this is the 3rd council plan I've been involved with, and it's the best ownership I've seen yet from not just the councillors but across the staff and the community. So well done all those who've already contributed, and I really look forward to getting the feedback because I think it's pretty good. I think we've heard and we've tried to put together something that will deliver what our community is asking for. So tell us if we're not, and tell us if we are too. So we will take this one to the vote too. The plan is going out for public consultation, so there is genuine chance to change it and improve. So please take that opportunity. All those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. The next item is the draft revenue and rating plans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report relates to the draft revenue and rating plan for 2025. A review has been undertaken of Council's revenue and rating plan 2021. Council is legislatively required to adopt a revenue and rating plan by 30 June in the year after a general election. The reviewed plan is presented for the purpose of seeking public submissions. The proposed changes to the plan are considered to be relatively minor in nature, with the main impact being the inclusion of Dinner Plain in the definition and scope of the commercial industrial differential rating strategy and the addition of the state government's emergency services and volunteer fund, both items of which have been the subject of previous council meeting reports. It is recommended that Council endorses the Revenue and Rating Plan 2025 for the purpose of seeking public submissions and invites public submissions in accordance with the recommendation up on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors? Moved Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Anderson.
I note, whilst there's some confusion over the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund, got that correct again? Where it's going to go up substantially. We're still planning to have that come in, but is it going to be enacted yet? Or?
So, thank you, Councillor Byrne. The current Revenue and Rating Plan 2021 outlines the application of the Fire Services Property Levy within that plan. We have been informed by the state government that the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund will take effect from the 1st of July. The complicating factor is that it is yet to be passed in legislation. However, it is going back to sitting on the 13th of May. And so presumably we will find out the status of that post the 13th of May. As this is a draft plan, which we intend on putting forward for adoption in June, we have written the plan assuming that that is going ahead because that is what we have been advised by the state government. However, should that not be the case, then we would revert prior to presenting a final document for council for adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson.
Also, this is the draft revenue and rating plan, so it'll be available for the community to look at and provide feedback. What sort of ways can they do that?
So the draft, thank you, Councillor Anderson. The draft revenue and rating plan we will be available on our Engage Alpine platform. We We were also seeking submissions to this plan, and if the community members wish to be heard in support of their submission, they can tick a box on Engage Our Plan to actually come and speak to councillors about this plan. We are particularly interested as well in the views of the Digital Plain community, as the change to the plan impacts the Digital Plain community as has been described previously. Thank you.
Councillor Ronco.
So I would like to thank Alpine Shire Director and staff who helped preparing this draft. I understand that Alpine Shire residents are facing every day the impact of cost of living. So I would like to have this question. So do the draft revenue and rating plan 2025 incorporate some payment option and financial hardship policy?
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. The draft revenue and rating plan encompasses the full suite of how council strategically manages its income and its rating structure, and it also outlines financial hardship policies and payment policies that are in place as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from councillors? Okay, we take this one to the vote. The draft revenue and rating plan. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. And Ms Cook, the next big item on the agenda, 8.3.3, draft budget 2025-26. And Mr Jeremy, I think will be part of this as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present Council's draft budget for 2025-26 for endorsement, again to be placed on public exhibition, prior to considering a recommendation to adopt the final budget at the June 2025 Ordinary Council meeting. Council has prepared the draft budget for 2025-2026, which is aligned with the draft Community Vision Council Plan and Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan for 2025 to 2029. These plans are being presented to this meeting to seek endorsement to undertake the community consultation, with the aim of these strategic documents to be adopted together at the June 2025 Council meeting. The recommendation is that Council notes the draft Alpine Shire 2025-26 budget, which features a 3% rate increase for the purposes of Section 94(1) of the Local Government Act 2020, and invites public submissions in accordance with the recommendation in the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors, the mover and the seconder for the recommendation. Yep. Councillor Graham is moving the recommendation. Councillor Anderson is seconding. Thank you very much. Councillor Graham.
Nothing particular, no.
Councillor Anderson. Nope. Any? Councillor Ronco.
Once again, I would like to thank Alpine Shire Director and staff who helped preparing this draft. I would like to invite as many Alpine Shire residents as possible to consult this draft and submit any feedback on this document before its adoption. Once again, aware the Alpine Shire residents are facing a rising cost of living. I'm still working with my fellow councillor and Alpine Shire Council CEO, Director and staff to address this as much as possible. I'm also aware that this year, every Alpine Shire resident will face an increase from the Victoria State Emergency Service and Volunteer Fund on their rates. The Alpine Shire will also to face increase in cost to deliver essential services. So everyone will need to be careful and responsible with our financial commitment to build a more sustainable future for our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. I have a question and something I'd like to point out in the budget. So the budget is presented with an operating deficit of 1.3 million, and I'd really like that put out in layman's terms to the beginning. Thank you. Mr. Jeremy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what you're reflecting, I think, is an adjusted underlying deficit, $1.3 million. And if I can put that in simple terms, if you think of your household finances, this budget presents a position where we're spending more money next year than council has coming in, to the tune of $1.3 million. Again, referring back to your household budget, you can do that for a period of time if you've got a bank balance that you can reduce and fund the gap, but you cannot do that indefinitely. So this is an unsustainable position that we're putting forward for council next year. And there is action needed within the organisation, working with council and the community to address that.
Thank you very much, Mr Jeremy. You've just answered my next question, which was, is it sustainable and what can council do about it? But the other question I had is, obviously you had to pare back the budget somewhat significantly, and there's some numbers in the paper, but how much work went into that, as your team, to find those savings or those cuts so that we haven't got a larger deficit? And is there any more you can do?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we've already put significant work into this year's budget over a period of quite a number of months. We've worked really hard on our materials and services budget, and we've pulled out around $1.9 million of costs that were sitting in the materials and services budget. So if you do look at the budget, you'll see that the budgeted amount for materials and services is quite considerably lower than last year. We've also taken a fine-tooth comb to the payroll budget. So we've looked at every single position in the organisation. We've looked at temporary positions to establish whether they are needed beyond the current end date, and we've really tightened the thumb screws. So to answer your question in two parts, we've done a lot, but there's still a lot we can do. So we're not at the end of that journey. We do recognise we've got a sustainability challenge, and we need to work hard on looking at where are the opportunities to reduce costs, increase revenue as we move forward, so we can bring council's long-term financial position into a financially sustainable position.
Thank you, Mr Jeremy. My final question is around funding. So we've had probably at least the last 8 years of really significant state and federal funding that we've delivered a lot of works, CapEx in particular, across the Shire, but also had a lot of staff employed under those funding agreements. Do we expect that sort of level of funding to either continue or pick up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's a really good point. So in simple terms, we're moving from feast to famine when it comes to external funding, and I think there's no surprises there that both the state and the Australian government are challenged with their budgets. So the coming years are looking challenging. In fact, the budget we've put forward shows no non-recurrent capital grants, which is very unusual. So they're the large grants, the one-off grants that we use to fund capital projects. We've put forward a number of funding applications that have not been successful, and it's unusual for us to put forward a budget where we don't have non-recurrent capital grants. What will the situation look like into the future? We don't know, because we don't have the crystal ball, but it is a challenging funding environment heading forward. There's a lot of competition for funding, and the state and Australian government are constrained in what I think they'll be able to deliver out through local government and into communities. So yes, it's a challenging period of time, but we're aware of that challenge, and there are opportunities for us to have a really hard look at the budget, materials and services, employee costs, look at where the revenue is coming from, and really try and bring back the budget into a position where it's sustainable into the long term.
Thank you, Mr Jeremy. I have no further questions. Does anyone else have questions? The budget? No. I'd just like to reiterate Councillor Ronco's comments that, and Councillor Anderson's, that this is about, it's going out to the public, and we're really keen to get your feedback. So don't hesitate. But bear in mind the things that Mr Jeremy's just said. Okay, so we take this one to the vote. All those in favour for releasing the budget? That is unanimous. Thank you. The last item is 8.3. Sorry, not the last item. Last item with Ms Cook is 8.3.4, Instruments of Appointment and Authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The instruments of appointment and authorisation are an important means of Council ensuring its officers are appropriately authorised under the relevant acts that Council administers. This report provides for permanent appointments to Council's statutory planning team. The recommendation is that Council exercise the powers conferred on it sections in the Planning and Environment Act to authorise those staff members as per the recommendation in the report. Thank you. If I may note, there is an error in the recommendation in the report that I would request is amended, in that the attachments are numbered with a 9 where they should be numbered with an 8. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Cook. And who gets the gold star for picking that one up? I think that was Councillor Byrne. So, councillors, a mover and a seconder to get our planners in place. Thank you, Councillor Byrne and Councillor Anderson. Anything?
Nothing,
no.
Thanks.
John? Councillor Anderson? No. Anybody? For those who haven't already heard this is something that does sound very operational, but it's something that we have to do under the Planning and Environment Act. We can't delegate it to somebody else. It has to come to a public council meeting. So here we are. We will now take this recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Next item is item 9, informal meeting of councillors. And there it is. Is there anybody, councillor, who'd like to put forward the recommendation that the summary of informal meetings for January, February, March and April as presented be received? Yep, councillor Graham. Anybody? A seconded, councillor Anderson. Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Anderson. No gold stars needed.
No gold stars.
You can see how busy we've been with the council plan community panel. Okay, we'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Next item is the presentation of reports by delegates, and I will start with Councillor Anderson. Councillor Byrne?
Nil.
Councillor Graham?
Nil.
Councillor Ronco? Councillor Townsend, and none from me either. Just for people who might be listening or in the audience, this section's for councillors to give a report on meetings and conferences and things that they've been to as a representative of the Alpine Shire.
Ooh, 3 next time.
Yeah, there we go. We'll make extra time. The next item is general business, and I will start. I'm going to start with Councillor Anderson. No. Councillor Byrne.
No.
No. No. No. Okay. Okay. There it is, easy. Hang on a minute, I've got some. Of course. That's right, I was going to find the right page. I know we've already talked about Elizabeth Brown for engagement around the council plan and the budget and the rating and revenue strategy, whichever way it goes around. There's pop-ups, there's engage. Have your say, come and talk to us. We're really looking forward to it. And I'll leave it there, that's good, that's fine. The other one's a bit of a private plug, I better not for me, somebody else. So, item 12 is motions for which notice has previously been given, and there are none. Item 13 is reception and reading of petitions, and we have a different process. We did have a petition shown to us today. It didn't meet the cut-off, but we will be working with the person who put that. Neither did it meet the governance rules. We'll be working with that person over the next month to move it forward. Item 14 is documents for sealing, and there's a recommendation that the following documents be signed and sealed: instruments of appointment and authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act, as we have just signed off. So do I have a mover and a seconder for those, please? Councillor Townsend has moved. Councillor Graham has seconded. All those in favour? That one is passed too, and we have no confidential reports, and unless there's any other business to be raised, we will...
Madam Mayor, if I could, we discussed earlier that your intent to
We did.
Enter some urgent business
That's
into
right.
the meeting. Would you still like to proceed with that?
I was wondering if a councillor would like to put forward the urgent business.
That we look to establish an alternate delegate for the Municipal Association of Victoria.
Okay, we have to first of all vote that we will, yes, and we will accept that as, put a motion that we accept that as urgent business. Yep. We right with the wording?
So just to talk through the process to understand we're doing this correctly. So my understanding is council would like to resolve to add some urgent business to this meeting, that relating to the delegate to the MAV State Council meeting on the 16th of May. If that is the case, then, Madam Mayor, if you'd like to take that to the vote, and seek the agreement of the councillors to actually accept that as urgent business into this meeting.
Thank you. Would councillors like to vote on that one, please? All those in favour of accepting the urgent business? Beautiful. Unanimously accepted. And then the motion that we put forward for urgent business, Councillor Byrne?
As,
Oh, sorry. Sorry. So, thank you. We'll start again. That's why we're doing this, everybody. We're practising. So, Councillor Byrne has moved that motion. And could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Townsend. Thanks. And now we take that one to the vote that we are accepting urgent business. All those in favour? Unanimous. Beautiful. Now, the second motion.
which is, as the Mayor and Deputy Mayor who normally sit on the MAV committee are unavailable, I'd like to suggest that Councillor Gareth Graham be nominated as a delegate in their absence.
Substitute delegate for the May 16 MAV State Council meeting. Perfect.
That one, yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, that one, yep.
Yep. So it's moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Ronco. And we're still getting the words. We probably should have worked on the words first. Beautiful.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, could you just repeat moving and seconders, please?
The moved by Councillor Byrne and seconded by Councillor Ronco.
Carried also has one eye.
Typing in a hurry.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend.
I'm going to have to get a whole packet of gold stars, you guys. Okay. And we are taking that to the vote now. All those in favour of that motion? Carried. Thank you. Yep. Okay, now that we have completed our business, we are going to close the meeting at 5:57.